All right, it's another episode of Splash Hits. We're here with Javi Lopez, 14-year big league career, 4-time World Series champion, 2007, 10, 12, and 14 with the Giants, 07 with the Red Sox. He's a Giants broadcaster. And now, what's your title? What's the new job? First of all, thanks for joining us, Javi. How you doing?
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's kind of fun to always try to give back to the San Francisco community since I'm not out there that much. So it's nice to be able to get on the airwaves over there. But yeah, things are good. Just kind of moving and shaking here in Georgia. So, I've been sticking and moving a little bit. I went to the GM meetings last week and then took my daughter up to New Jersey for some lacrosse just this past weekend. So I've slept just 2 nights in my own bed in the last week or 10 days.
Well, thanks for coming on today. We really appreciate it. I'm sure Giants fans are pumped that you're on here. All right, what's the new role? Tell me about it. What's the title? What's the new role? How did this come about with Buster and Zach?
Well, I'm going to just be an advisor to baseball operations, and we're kind of there's no real specific to it as of yet. I think, if anything, I'm lending just pitchers' eyes to maybe a couple guys that, they're so good at being able to look at all the numbers and everything else, but sometimes you just need a practical set of eyes to get on there. So I think that'll be my initial foray into the front office world, but I'm going to try to bounce around a little bit and see where things might land. I think in an ideal world, maybe try to be the best Dick Tidrow I could be, and maybe just kind of, again, look at talent if it comes my way and if I'm asked to do so. But other than that, I'm doing a lot of listening and a lot of smiling and just trying to figure out exactly where I fit.
How'd this whole thing come about?
Buster and I had a couple conversations during the season, and even with Zach as well. We were just kind of going over maybe some various things as to, trying to get back to the game a little bit more. I really enjoy broadcasting, but at the same time, if there's an opportunity to be a value add in the front office, I was looking about trying to do that because Buster, I consider a good friend of mine. And anytime somebody puts their name on it, somebody that you know and you respect and you love and you want to help them be successful. And I felt like if I had an opportunity to be a value add, that I wanted to do that and help them try to right this ship.
So are you still broadcasting too?
That's the plan right now. We're still trying to go through that. Again, it's trying to figure out what the time frame is going to look like, what the Giants are looking for me in that front office role. And again, I have my priorities here at home, which I made sure I laid out because I'm coaching my son's team, and I don't want to miss too much of that spring, beginning of summer. Just so you only get so many times, so many laps with your kids before they're off. So I want to be able to be here and enjoy a lot of that time as well.
So you're like a real person. You have a family and kids, and you actually have a life besides baseball.
Yeah, I try. I mean, I shouldn't have shortchanged my daughter. That is the lacrosse season as well as in the spring. So, yeah, she's a sophomore now in high school, and this is a big recruiting year. And, again, there's only so many times you get to go watch them play and enjoy the sport. So that is priority number one. And both Buster and Zach were understanding of that. And so we'll work with those parameters.
So, I mean, Susan Slusser, our friend who you know very well, threw your name out there in an article in the Chronicle about maybe being a possible managerial candidate. Is that something you aspire to do? Did you get interviewed for the job? Take us through that a little bit.
No, I didn't get any of that. I actually told Susan, I feel like a jerk because I didn't ask to be the job. So then it's like I'm saying no to the job. But no, I don't know about being in uniform right now. I don't think, again, for the time that I would want to put in and the time that you need to put in, to be honest with you. You've seen it up close and personal, the amount of time that these coaches and managers put into the game. You age like a president nowadays. You see a lot of guys just going right to the white hair pretty quickly. So, it's a 365 kind of job. And I'm just not in a good position to do that right now. And that's a never say never as far as maybe joining a coaching staff someday. But as of right now, I feel like I like my life where I'm at right now. And never, I would always say yes to an interview just to see what that looks like, what the process looks like. But, as of right now, that is not an aspiration of mine.
What Tony Vitello, dude, this is such a out of the box hire. And I got to spend some time with him after the press conference, talk to him in the clubhouse for a while. We actually had some pops afterwards. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. He seems like he's got all the energy, super intelligent, super passionate. Have you had a chance to meet him, and what are your impressions and thoughts about the new manager of the Giants?
Yeah, well, thankfully he came out to the general managers meetings out there in Vegas, and so I was able to actually spend some time with him. We broke some bread, had some drinks. I mean, the big dinners is kind of what was great about the GM meetings, because you end up sitting there meeting with a lot of agents. Not too much talk about the roster, but just meeting about what all these agents are coming through trying to sell their guys, and the Giants are going through their needs and what they want. And Tony actually sat in on a good amount of those, and it was nice to break some bread with him and just have a casual conversation, no stress. And the energy's there; it's palpable. You can kind of just sit next to him at the table. I was picking on him a little bit just to see what his thoughts were going forward. And I think it's a guy that's going to be energy. He won't lack for energy. I think that is one thing. He's going to communicate very well. I think ultimately what it's going to come down to is the people that you surround him with, and I think that's been the biggest discussion. What that coaching staff is going to look like. They lost a couple guys, Mark Holberg being a guy that goes off to Minnesota now. And, so they're going to look for a guy that, I think he was kind of projecting to be a person that would maybe be the third base coach. He had done it before, to take the place of Matt Williams there. So I think they're kind of working their way through it. Jace Tingler's on the staff, and he's picking and choosing some guys as well. So I think more than anything, it's who you surround him with and trying to get him up to speed on the personnel. Now you're the skipper of the big leagues. You're managing men. You're not managing 18 to 22-year-olds. You're managing 25 to 35s. So it's going to be a different shape. But if there's a guy that's going to be up to the task, I think it'll be Tony, and the staff that I at least have heard is going to be surrounding him is going to be along those same lines as well. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I get the sense, and it was the day of his press conference, that he was overwhelmed by the whole thing, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. But how does he get through to the veterans, Javi? In your opinion, I mean, you played 14 years in the big leagues. Like, how does he get through to the older players?
Well, I think it begins with going to see them in their comfort zones. And I believe, unless things are changing, that's the plan. So he's headed down to the Dominican. He'll try to spend some time with Adames and Devers while they're down there. And I think that's the best way to kind of go about it. Regardless of what you're doing, whatever leadership role you're in, is that you go meet somebody in their comfort zone, in their space, and figure out what they're about. And I think that is plan number one for him. I'm sure he'll stick and move a little bit. He still lives in Nashville, but he's looking at places in Scottsdale. So he'll meet with some of the guys down in Arizona, I'm sure, and kind of do the circuit. He went to some fall league games after Vegas. So I do think, again, that's kind of how it begins. You just try to make those meets early, because when you get into spring training, as well as I do, you're under the gun already when you get going in spring training. I mean, you have that week of pitcher catcher kind of deal, but your team comes in and you're in the fight. And of all the years to take over, this is a tough one for Tony, just because the WBC is going to be played in the spring, and there's names that are floated out there of people that might be playing and most likely will be playing on the roster. So getting to get those conversations and those relationships going is priority number one for him. And I think that was the plan. Leaving Vegas was to go ahead and have those conversations.
You're so front office-y right now. Oh my goodness. I mean, you should have a suit.
I don't think I'm doing buzzwords. I don't feel like I'm doing buzzwords. I should. I didn't get my list of 25 buzzwords, but I'll check my email.
Businessy terms. Well, you know all about business. We got to take care of some business right now. It's our first time on the podcast running some ads. So we'll be back right after this.
Holiday shopping season is here, and we have you covered from head to toe.
Let's talk about an area that's not quite close to the toes. Let's get crazy with this holiday season. Yeah, that's MeUndies I'm spinning around, but the holiday season, now you can get MeUndies with some holiday prints on them.
That's right, ridiculously soft fabric holiday prints, matching holiday prints with your special person, or you can coordinate PJs for the family photo. And right now you can get up to 50% off with the code FOUL. We rock MeUndies. You should too. We're talking over 30 million pairs sold. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies to get exclusive holiday deals up to, yep, I said it, 50% off. Go to MeUndies.com/foul and enter promo code FOUL. That's MEUNDIES.com/FOUL. Promo code FOUL for up to 50% off.
All right. I think it's so cool with you and Buster and players being back in the organization. Talk about what it's like having players in the organization and having an organization basically run by players. This is definitely the minority in Major League Baseball.
I think you're starting to see it kind of turn this way now, just again because the analytics teams are so big, and they obviously can read the numbers and understand what's going on and play and bet on trends. But oftentimes it comes down to an eye test. Whether I think you see the game similarly to I do. Obviously, I'm more pitcher focused, but being around so many hitters in my life, I have a tendency. I listen to a lot of hitters tell me what they see in a pitcher, what they're trying to understand, whether it's what kind of patterns they might fall into, what part of the plate are they taking away, and I think a lot of that gets maybe lost on some of these analytical teams. So you bring in a guy that just has more of a playing experience, and I'm definitely not turned off to numbers at all. I think it's very important in this game. It has been. It's proven itself, and it's not going anywhere. But if there's a little tendency that I might see, I'm a big body language guy. I'll mention it on when I broadcast that pace, poise, and presence are the three things I look for in a pitcher. And I think the same thing can be said when you watch a hitter. It's tough to see when you're watching just strictly video, but when you and I are in the yard, you can watch a guy's whole routine from being on deck. Is he staring in the stands? Does he have a plan? Does it look like he's trying to time something up? And then it's clear as day when he steps into the box if there's a plan or not. And I think that those are the kind of things that kind of jump out to us that we can kind of try to. I always tell my kids, teamwork makes the dream work. So I'm in there, whether my advice is taken or not, I'm going to share it. And then after that, they do what they want with it. But I think that is one of the things that I can bring is just a different set of eyes looking at the same things. And oftentimes, it's early in this process. We'll see what this looks like. But, I'm going to chime in where I'm allowed to and kind of just voice those concerns or just comments that I might have on a guy.
Yeah, you and I have had many talks over a glass of wine or two about body language. We see it. We have X-ray vision on a baseball field. When we're broadcasting or we're watching a game, or even with your kids, you can see if somebody's scared. You can see if somebody's not confident. You can see if they're fidgety. You can see if it's fake confident. And every edge we could get as players, you on the mound, me in the batter's box, looking out at you, and all of a sudden you're looking up in the stands or you're taking these huge deep breaths. That's a little advantage I have, where you could tell if I get in the batter's box and I'm a little bit jittery, or I don't have I'm not standing big in the batter's box. I mean, talk about that as a player, stuff that you saw in hitters on the mound and body language where you're like, oh, I got this guy. You knew you had him before you threw the first pitch, or maybe he's locked in. I got to lock in myself.
Yeah, presence is so important for me. Sometimes you always hear fake it till you make it kind of thing. And there is something to that when you're on the mound. You have the ball. The game doesn't start till you execute a pitch. And I fell into it many times where I wasn't very confident, slump the shoulders, hang the head just a touch. And I don't think I'm doing that. But then I look at a video, I'm like, oof, man, that was not, I wasn't selling the sizzle there. So, a lot of that is important. But I do think, you have so many game plans now. And a lot of that trust it used to just be, maybe a pitching coach here, but a lot of that was built with your catcher. Hey, this is how I want to work a guy. This is what we're going to do. Now you're getting information from all sides, and it's being, I guess disseminated to some extent from a pitching coach as to how you want to do this. But a lot of these staffs are built out where there's a pitching coach, a bullpen coach. That used to be it. Now there's a pitching strategist and a biomechanical guy. Like there's a lot of people that are going to give you a lot of information. And so ultimately it just comes down to trying to execute the best pitch that you can. And I do think that a lot of that comes with the confidence and kind of what you're talking about. A lot of guys maybe take that breath and their shoulders are high and they're tense. And that, that just shows that it's a tense body that they're pitching with. And then you look at a lot of guys like Yamamoto in the postseason, the way he was throwing, it was amazing to watch him go about it. Even Gosman, like a lot of the matchups that you watch, there's guys that are just in a rhythm and full of confidence. And I think that is something that you try to instill. And I think that's going to start in the lower levels. And kind of like you were alluding to earlier with players coming back, you got Randy Wynn now in player development. He's trying to help out. There's a lot of former players that are in pitching and hitting positions in the minor leagues. The Giants had a better year in the minor leagues. And I think that's how you got to kind of build it. You got to teach people to get better, but you got to teach them how to win. And I think winning is important. And I think the Giants are trying to piece that together, but you're only as good as your players, right? So when you have that marginal player, it often comes down to the instruction side of it and teaching the game and teaching the little nuances of the game that can make you just that little bit better. So I think that's the trend that you're starting to see across baseball.
That's great stuff right there. Really, really good stuff. Hayden Birdsong is the guy that comes to mind. Like when he was confident, you could tell nobody was getting a hit off of him, but he wears his emotions on his sleeve. And you could tell when he wasn't confident. I mean, we could see it. And if we could see it, the hitters could see it. But maybe touch on the Giants' state of the union with the pitching throughout the organization. What are your thoughts on the depth and certain pitchers? How are we doing in the pitching department?
Well, given it the once over that I did, it's young. I think there's a lot of unproven guys yet. I think for me, Hayden Birdsong is the X factor because we've seen him have so much success, and not only in the starting ranks, but even in the bullpen. He was a high leverage arm early this season, this past season, and it's explosive. The ability to throw strikes and is going to be the key for him. And I think we've seen that throughout the season, the way it played out for him, not only in the big leagues before he got optioned down, but down in AAA. Just the ability to limit base runners. You hear it all the time. You don't want to give teams free passes, and you can't defend a walk. It's basically what it comes down to. So you want to just have them put the ball in play, but sometimes it is a little bit of a mental block. Sometimes it is mechanical, and that's something for the Giants to figure out. I think there's probably a team that is with Birdsong right now, trying to figure that out. And again, another former player, Clay Rapata, is the pitching coordinator for the Giants. So I imagine he's with contact with Birdsong to figure it out. But Birdie is such a big weapon for the Giants to get him right, that I do think that they're going to pour in a lot of that, because you and I have both been through it, whether you're fighting for a spot in big league camp or just coming off a not so good year and you're going back into big league camp that next year, that the pressure that you just put on yourself to feel right, a lot of times that can be overwhelming. So hopefully that they take the time to kind of have some mental checks or whatever it is for him, that he can kind of slow the game down. Because again, when you get into spring training, you're so anxious to impress and show that you've made the adjustments that they wanted you to make, that sometimes that undue pressure, you're just, it as well as I know it. You're not good February 15th. It's just, you're not, you build into that to be better in April and in May and further in the season. So hopefully they're checking off those things for him. And I do think that is one of them. But, you have Wizenhunt, who had a little taste. You have all these guys that had a little taste last year. It's how they can build off of that the Giants really need, because there is going to be opportunity both in the starting rotation and in the bullpen.
So how do you slow it down in the pitch clock era? That's something that you didn't have to deal with. Like you had a built-in toolbox where if things were going south, you could step off the mound, rub up the baseball, get the rosin bag. How does a young pitcher now, and I know they're used to the pitch clock in the minor leagues, how does a guy like Hayden Birdsong slow it down?
Well, I do think it's a tired cliche, but it comes down to routine. And I think he's going to need one that's going to be consistent for him. And I know he likes to talk to himself. We talked about that in broadcast before, that he's on the mound and he's talking to himself out loud, because if you hear it, you're going to believe it. And I do think that's something that maybe he shied away from watching a few of the outings later. I didn't feel like I saw that as much. And I do think that's something you want to reinforce and build off of. I think that's important. But it is going to be routine oriented. I think when you're in this fight every single day, again, baseball is not 3 games a week, 4 games a week. You're in it every night. And whether you're a starter or a reliever, this is what made me struggle as a starter, is that if I had a bad outing, I couldn't touch a ball for another 4 days. And that just killed me mentally. I wasn't built right for that. And I think that's why one of the reasons I excelled as a reliever was just I could make up for a bad outing the next day. I had an opportunity to do that. I think sitting on those is difficult. And I'm not going to speak for Hayden. Maybe he felt that way, maybe he didn't. But I do think the more opportunities you get, the more rhythm you get, the better off you'll be. And I do think a lot of that is going to be routine, ritual-based kind of things that you try to instill in a lot of these guys. And some people are hesitant to mental games. I do think sports psychology is an important thing, but not everyone feels that way, and that's totally fine. But I do think that there are a lot of players that are maybe open to that opportunity, especially when they've had some difficulties. And I wouldn't doubt if that's another angle that they're trying to do with Birdie.
Yeah, there were some shots we had, and I would see on the radio side from the TV side of him going, "Oh, that was dirty!" Like after he threw a
Yeah,
curveball, and you
right.
just love the confidence that he had, and hopefully he gets that back because he's super valuable to this organization. I'll leave you with this one, Javi. I know you're a busy man, and we thank you for joining us today. What's the overall vision of the Giants organization right now?
Well, I do think it's going to be pitching and defense. I think that's just what has played at Oracle Park since its inception. I think it's good. You'd love to get power bats, great lefty pitching, and kind of play great defense. I think if anybody could tell you that that's going to work, they would take it, right? I mean, the lefty starters are just such an anomaly to get some good ones, and I think if the Giants could develop some of that and get that done, but it's going to be pitching and defense. They're going to try to get more athletic, but of course, you saw what happened in the World Series. You see what happens with a lot of those playoff teams, contact-oriented teams, some timely hits, but first and foremost was great starting pitching, and the bullpens, for the most part, pieced it together. I mean, I wouldn't say the Dodgers were amazing out of the bullpen, but they were able to kind of mix and match and execute ultimately. But you saw what the Blue Jays did. They were very much a contact-oriented team. So I think a little bit of a change in hitting philosophy. You'll try to see that with some of the hitting coaches that they'll probably bring on board with Tony, and kind of have that kind of filter down through the organization. But again, you got to build winners. I think that's more important. Everyone in the minor leagues knows that there's an opportunity at the big league level, but you're only going to get there if you're consistent and you're athletic and you're versatile, and you learn how to win, because ultimately it's not a try league, it's a do good league in the big leagues. And I think the Giants are going to do everything they can this offseason, try to improve in those facets. But I think first and foremost, it'll be the starting pitching to kind of set the table for everything else.
Well, I think the Giants are on the right track, hiring a 4-time World Series winner that knows just a little bit about winning.
Well, I'm trying. You know, I got to pour in. I pour into the cup, and like I said, I'll see if I'm a value add. And if not, I'm okay. I can bounce out of it. But I'm trying to just share my insight from things I've noticed, not just on the playing side, but on the broadcast side, and see if some of that stuff can be used.
Yeah, people don't realize we see everything up there, man. We got monitors.
Yeah.
We have the best view in the house, and even stuff that people don't see on TV, they'll show us on a different screen up in the booth. So we're almost like an eye in the sky. So that's very valuable.
Yeah, I think for me, I love being able to look into the dugout. I think that is one of the best shots that you and I get of the vantage point that in San Francisco, when I was still pitching there, we all stayed together. The bullpen was in the dugout and we warmed up on the field. But now with that separation, you don't get that same vibe. So it is kind of nice to be able to peek in there and see if what your mind is telling you, what the interaction should look like, or whether whether there's validation there, or if there's something else going on, whether it is, for me, it is big body language kind of thing. So, that vantage point that we can provide, I think, is something that I will bring in the front office and see if it sticks.
Well, speaking of body language, go put your suit on and be a front office guy, and we'll let you we'll let you go.
I got to wear pants and 3/4 zips. I think that's kind of where I got to go. So it's already a different look for me.
Javi, thanks so much for coming on, man. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
FP, no problem. And too bad Susan wasn't here, but I appreciate you guys doing this, and thanks for having me.
All right. Let's just wrap up the show real quick. Maybe unpack a little bit of what Javi Lopez had to say. I just think it's so cool that the Giants are bringing winners back into the fold. When you have people that have won World Series titles, you talk to general managers and presidents of baseball operations around baseball, they like to surround themselves with players when they're looking at free agents that have resume, that have been there and done that and won a championship. And they know what it takes, and they know the value of showing up every day. They know how important attention to detail is and what a winning player is. So to have a guy like Javi Lopez and another set of eyes, I've talked to Javi off the air when we're at the hotel bar, maybe after the game or on the bus on the way to the game. And he's one of the most brilliant baseball minds I've ever been around. Everything that he says makes me feel dumb when it comes to baseball. And I say that very complimentary because, when you've been doing it your whole life, you think you know a little bit about baseball. It's the only thing I know a little bit about. And then when you talk to a guy like Javi Lopez, it's just the way he sees the game. He's such a good broadcaster, and he's so great at broadcasting, and he's great at talking to the fans and you guys. But I think he has so much more value in the organization where he can really, really get through to some people and have that set of eyes that knows what they're talking about. Even the stuff about body language. I mean, I could do a whole show on body language. It's actually bled into my personal life now after baseball, where I can see we were always looking for an advantage, some little edge that we could get on our opponent, whether it was tipping pitches and his glove gets bigger on a changeup, or say he's tense on the mound, he takes a deep breath on a changeup to have a looser grip on the ball. He sets at a different level. Just the way a pitcher walks around the mound, and pitchers are doing the same thing with us. And so just the body language thing that he was talking about is so intriguing to me. I could probably do a whole show on it. But it was really cool to have him on today. We're going to have Susan on our next show. And we are hoping that you guys are loving this. We're going to have a lot of big guests on. And even when we don't have big guests on, we're going to talk a lot of Giants baseball and get really deep in the weeds about what the Giants need to do, what they're doing. And this is going to go on during the season. So then we're going to talk about some games and what's going on, some strategy stuff, which I love as a broadcaster now. But it was really cool that Javi said about the broadcasting thing, because I've been up in the booth before and I see a guy tipping pitches, and I've actually texted the clubhouse and said, hey, this guy's doing X, Y, and Z, and you can help the ball club out during the game. So we're all invested. We all love the Giants. And we were really thankful to have Javi Lopez on today. So thanks for joining us today. We'll be back with you this week again. So we're doing 2 shows a week. We are loving this podcast. I couldn't wait to come on the air today, and I can't wait to see you guys again. And my sign off, which was always on the radio, swing hard in case you hit it.